Hey, what's going on, everybody? We are live. I am Adam, as
I'm
always,
Brick.
joined by Brick, and as of late, pretty regularly joined by Jason. What's going on, guys?
Hi.
Hello.
How y'all doing?
I could be better. It's been a busy weekend. I just watched
Do I
England
sound like a
lose
robot?
the European final. No, no, not any more than normal.
But I have suspected. But yeah, no. So you saw your team lose and you had some birthday parties? Busy day?
Yeah. So yesterday was my 5-year-old's birthday party. Today, my 8-year-old went to a birthday party. And on and on.
And we're
and
going
on
to a
it
birthday
goes.
party. It's a birthday party
Yeah.
weekend, apparently. We're gonna go to a birthday party in about
kind
an
of
hour.
weekend. I think
High
you're
five,
right.
dads. High five, dads. Good job.
Yeah.
5 years. You did it. Congratulations. They're still alive, right? Still breathing?
Yeah,
That's what we say every year. We're like, yeah, we did it. High five.
Yeah, still going.
I remember
Child
when
services
Elizabeth
hasn't
was
been called.
5.
So.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when Elizabeth was 5. We had an Easter get together, and my cousin and I, who were almost the same exact age, and we looked at each other and we're like, none of our kids have like broken any arms or legs, and I'm like, are we helicopter parenting? Because like at that point, I think I had gotten a concussion and a broken ankle by 5.
Yeah.
I had a broken arm. I wound up breaking my arm when I was 11. So, but so far we've lucked out. But I guess we were the last quote unquote untethered generation. Kind of fall back on.
I personally haven't broken. I don't think I've broken any bones. I've broken like a couple, like in my hand, but like not any. No collarbones, no arms, no legs. Knock on wood.
Here. Same here. Never.
My brother was the bone breaker.
It's like when you're fishing. Yeah. I mean, I'll say this: it's like fishing. It's like you think you have like a fish on the line, but when you actually have a fish on the line, it's like super obvious. So like if you broke a bone, you would definitely remember, unless you were like toddler age or something.
No, I just had some hand injuries from kendo, but that was recent. That wasn't as a child.
I'm boring and soft, so I haven't broken anything ever. But my son did break his collarbone last year around this time.
Yikes!
So,
good times.
Tougher than me.
All right, let's get into it. First, we're gonna check in with the chat, see who's hanging out with us today. Endless Fables is here. Mythic Dolphin, Andy the Collector, Quip says Yerp. Ray Paz, Thanos Copter, No Chewing, Christopher Bouchard, Game Quest is here as well. Eric Dryja. I keep pronouncing it differently, hoping that one time I get it right. Patex Alonso is here as well. Jason's pulling double duty. Timmy T as well. Hello, everybody, and welcome. We're going to talk toys. We're going to talk Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. We're going to talk other Spiro stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about Joe Fest, catch up on that a little bit. And then we'll sort of see where we're at. We might just share a couple things that people have never seen before too. So stay tuned for that. All right. Oh, we're gonna talk about what cons Spiro Toys is still gonna be at, I think.
Yeah, probably good to say that again.
Wrap that up. That's I mean, we're kind of con season is somewhat winding down in terms of it being every weekend, but there's still some pretty big ones coming up. So we'll briefly go through those as well. So all right. First up, any update, Jason, on Wave 4? The Gladiator Wave.
Dave told me that he's going to be sending photos of them packaging everything up in the cartons, so the cartons are the cardboard boxes. Mm-hmm. So I'm supposed to get those this week, which means they just essentially have to pack them up and put them on the boats. So cool. Hopefully we'll have stuff to share, and maybe we can kind of show those off on Wednesday. I'm really anxious to have my personal versions of each figure. You know, I've got like a standard adventure armor pail that's been kind of standing in. I've been kind of putting together like a gambit of different kind of like aliens and superhero brawlers for him to kind of take on once he actually arrives. So yeah, we're looking to be shipping very, very soon.
Awesome. And then I mean this sort of surprise drop of wave 5.
Yeah, you know, that's the thing is Dave was working on 5 almost parallel to I suspect it was kind of part of the same production. So I anticipate those shipping relatively soon as well. So we're expecting that, you know, maybe right before Christmas. So fingers crossed.
Cool. Very, very nice. That's exciting. I mean, that was sort of a little bit of a surprise to everybody. I think
it really was. I was surprised.
I mean, we've been talking
knows
about.
Me enough to... Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think Dave knows me enough to like wait a couple days before giving me information, because I'll tend to just kind of like blurt it out. We all know this. So for all I know, the stuff's being packed on the board right now, and he's just kind of having a little bit of a buffer.
He's just feeding you just enough information so that you're
right.
Still sort of not going too hard, too far, too fast. Wave 5's cool because I think, you know, we've been suggesting and we've been sort of hinting that you know, between wave 4 and the Kickstarter stuff, there would be more stuff. You know, we knew that the Void was coming, but the Void kind of went back and forth. He got bounced back and forth. You know, will he just arrive with the Kickstarter stuff? Will he arrive earlier than that? And I think, you know, to get a couple more figures in there before the Kickstarter stuff, I think is really, really cool. Especially because we're getting, you know, the Void and another version of Pale, which are, you know, named characters, but then another army builder in the Fearless Ranger, which gives, you know, customizers and kit bashers, you know, even more fodder. Even more pieces in their sort of Lego box to disassemble and reassemble as they choose. So I'm excited for that. So whenever
the first couple of waves came out, you know, I put together a little spreadsheet in my mind of what I could customize and what I could mix and match. But I didn't say any of that. I wanted the collectors and fans to figure that out on their own. And it was really nice to see everyone essentially do everything that I had planned out and then start to do surprises. With like the Feral Beastie and the teal armor set. That was fun. I think this time I'm going to just start kind of like putting out my ideas as well. Just almost like the equivalent of a writer's prompt. Like, here's my ideas. Let's see what you guys do. But like, especially like the Fearless Ranger, like I've got several different ideas that I'm excited about, you know, just kind of doing whenever the full shipment arrives. And speaking of the Kickstarter stuff, you know, we did talk about like peppering waves in between the Kickstarter stuff. What's so cool about like, you know, having this giant part catalog that's going to be coming through is, you know, after like the Lizard and Brawler wave is tooled, while we're waiting on the other stuff to get vetted and tooled and produced, we have those parts now. So all we have to do is just kind of, you know, send over paint masses, and you'll start getting like, well, you'll get like a 1.5 because we've got access to all those parts now. So, you know, we've been getting a lot of people asking about, I want this dog, or I want this dog, or it would be cool to have like a clear chameleon or something like that. Like, we hear all of that. So I think there's going to be a lot of fun little surprises in between the first and second wave, and then again with the third wave. So building out that parts catalog going to allow us to like just do so many more figures and characters, army builders.
I know there isn't an answer to this yet, but you're referring to like the Kickstarter, and you're like the first wave, the second wave. Maybe we can figure it out here. So what happens now? So essentially, is wave 5? Do they become essentially wave 6, 7? Have you thought about? I know.
So series 2, wave 1.
Yeah, because if you remember in that, okay, so that's That's
Yes,
very
it's
confusing and comic
Legacy
book-like.
Wave 6. Yeah, we're gonna have it'll be
So-
like Marvel Comics. Each wave will
Marvel
have two
Comics,
different
number
numbers
one
on it.
again.
It'll
Yeah.
and we'll have wave 1 every time there's a new series, and it'll have a legacy wave to go with it, just to really confuse people and make it difficult for people to figure out.
It's definitely not my area of expertise, and I will say that we've been working with Diamond Distribution, and they're really great. And it was Eric who suggested we do series 2.1 in order to kind of keep it as organized as possible. And then again, it's exciting because it's like we're this far into the series of figures where it's starting to get a little bit of complication going on. So it's all good things. It's just a matter of kind of like staying ahead of it and making sure it doesn't get too confusing.
So it's like, got it. So almost like a TV show, like season 2, and we're starting fresh.
Right.
I get that.
Episode such and such. Exactly.
The next fun part is because when we were putting together that spreadsheet that we showed on Wednesday, it was like putting names to the waves. So like wave 1, Primal Collection. I think wave 2 was also Primal Collection. Is that right? Yeah. And then wave 3, I'm scrolling through it on my this other machine over here. Wave 3 was Primal Battle. And then wave 4, Gladiators. And wave 5, we said something Void. I put in Enter the Void.
That's
not official. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those sort of subtitles are fun, and I appreciate that about like the Four Horsemen, because it's sometimes like the numbers are just numbers, but when you're like, oh yeah, that's an Necronomicon wave, you're like, oh yeah, totally. Yeah. So I don't know, things that are helpful, but just wondering. Fair enough. At the end of the day, we're just getting a ton of cool toys. So I'm curious. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say there's not a lot. I mean, aside from Mythic Legions, there's not a lot of lines, at least that I collect, where the waves are consistent or are named or whatever. I look at, the only thing I can really think of that has, set stuff like that. Super 7 Ultimates will be like, wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, and it's just sequential. Right. And I couldn't tell you which wave what figures are from that I have purchased, right? But the numbering thing is just it helps us keep them in order. The name thing is somewhat organic too. Like some of the waves didn't have names until we heard people referring to them as whatever wave, and
yeah,
it was so it would if there had been a plan from the beginning, it probably would have been easier. But as it's just sort of as it's just sort of rolling and from wave to wave, and some waves seemingly come out of nowhere, right? I think
and keep in mind,
that's what makes it a little more difficult.
Yeah, whenever we started, it was just me, and like my brain doesn't tend to function that way. So and another thing that added to it was whenever we did the first Kickstarter, I anticipated us doing 6 figures with a little bit of extra stuff, and we did a whole nother wave, Right. So then we had to break that. That became 2 waves in one Kickstarter.
Yep. Well, let me ask you this, because you mentioned the sort of like half waves in between,
right?
Let's call it the series 2 or whatever Kickstarter stuff,
right?
Are you, because the comic book's in production, we know that like you're having to turn that stuff in early.
Right.
We know that issue 5 is finished and exists, and I know you're working after that.
Right.
How does that work? Do you consciously sort of like anticipate like, oh, I'd like to make this toy and kind of sneak them in early as cameos, kind of the way you did with Brutox and who are the other guys?
So we've got cameos. I like to do like a foreshadowing in the form of cameos, but there's some there's figures that we've designed with the second story arc in mind, and I really want to show that stuff, but they're not even being sculpted or anything yet.
Right.
Yeah. So those are going to take priority after the Kickstarter stuff, which will be nice because we'll basically get through the next story arc while we're getting all of our Kickstarter goodies. And then the story arc will finish up, and then we'll be like, oh, by the way, here's all these like new villains and allies that you saw on the second story arc. So that's kind of the approach that we're taking right now. Another thing about the 2.1 and or 1.5 and then 2.5 or whatever.
Right.
There's gonna be stuff.
2.1.5, 2.1.
The waves. So the waves in between the Kickstarter stuff, it'll have new characters that are like mass market releases, but then we'll also have exclusives that are like convention exclusives that are like, they're not like must-have figures, but they'll be fun, compelling stuff that you can pick up from us at the booth, or at a certain show they might debut. So the vendor or the showrunner will have a certain version, and then we'll have a certain amount left over until we run out.
Exciting.
Now, my brain's always malfunctioning, Austin.
On the topic of comic books, do we want to share these two comic book related things that you shared, Jason?
Yeah, let's show those off since we're talking about it.
So let's see if it'll even let me do this, but I think I've sort of figured out how to do it without it screwing everything up. So we have a new sigil. Now I just realized that also it's showing all that other stuff at the bottom. I don't think there's anything that's gonna be okay. We're good.
Okay. It's too small to tell what it is.
Let me open this in a new tab. I think that's probably what I should have done in the first place and share this instead. So we got a new sigil. Do we want to share what the sigil is? Which clan this is from? Which group this is from?
Let's let them
just leave
speculate
it
for now.
Yeah,
let's
leave
let
it.
it simmer. This sigil will factor in heavily in issue 5. So that's our little sneak peek for issue 5. Still trying to build a nice crescendo to the conclude of the first story arc. So this particular sigil represents the two main characters that finishes building out Pale's team. So there's a story A and a B, and then we've got subplots, and a lot of the first story arc is about Pale building out his team to take on Khalees. This will be the final member of the team, and there will be rotating members. But he kind of completes out. Oops, I probably shouldn't have said that. But this character complete the team for first story arc.
Do we want to share the other? Can I share the cover?
But first, let me just before that, I appreciate this stuff as a designer. Like I obsessed with logos and typography back in the day. And so when I see this and I sort of see all the different sigils and knowing who the characters for, I love it. The storytelling in this mark is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So Pufferfish guy does all the sigils, and we're both graphic designers, so we definitely geek out about this stuff. The approach to most of these is we want to make sure that kids can draw this stuff and recreate it. Yep. So a lot of times we'll kind of throw everything at the wall and then slowly pull back until it's just a very bold, basic, strong image that, if we want our kids to be able to draw it, they should be able to pull it off to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope you're keeping like sketches and versions.
We do have all that
just
stuff.
Drop them in a folder. Cool. Someday, Art of Book Part 2. Love that stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting because depending on, sometimes I'll be like very hands-on, like I want this, and then I'll send him a sketch and then he'll do sketches. Other times I'll send him like several elements, and then he'll come up with sketches that way. So it'll be kind of fun to see our design dialogue kind of go back and forth. And Arlen and Dan and I have very, very similar design languages. Our design brains work very, very similarly. So it's very similar to like musicians, where you're vibing together. You're not necessarily having to talk it out too much. It's very similar to that. If you play any kind of instrument, you'll kind of get what I'm talking about.
Yep. That's cool. I see you know, a gear in there. I see kind of something a little more techie, geometric. Like if I'm just going based on design language,
Right. Yeah.
So I'll just throw that out there. It's pretty cool. Cool.
Thank you.
The weathering. Is there weathering on all of them?
So
Is that just a vibe?
Well, there's
we
two
have
versions.
clean versions of everything.
Right, but
I've
when
just
you
showed the
throw 'em out
weathered
there.
versions right now because I don't want people just kind of like trying to print like low res versions of it. I'd much rather like have some sort of like, eventually I want to do stuff like offering water decals and stuff like that. So that way we can kind of keep control of the source material and make sure that whatever is out there is nice and crisp and not like a pixelated rasterized version. But we do have nice clean versions of every sigil.
Not that it would
They're
be
all
hard
vector.
to trace, but sure. Yeah.
No, I mean, like, for us, like,
Yeah.
I mean, I could make this. It's just,
Yeah.
my worry is, like I said, it's like someone like doing a screen capture of this and then trying to print it out, big. And it's like, I don't have a problem giving it away, but I want it to be like a nice, crisp representation of it.
Yeah. It's cool. Cool.
Very quickly, Alex McLaughlin said, "This is the first I've heard of Wave 5. Where can I see more about it?" And I put a link just in there, but it is on the Spiro Toys website as well. You can see it all there. It's just 3 figures: the Void, Necro Armor Pale, and the Fairless Ranger. And then in the comments as well, where did it go? Somebody asked about the alternate head for the Fairless Ranger. I think it's almost more fun if people don't find out about it until later.
Let's just let it be a surprise.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I'm glad you agree because no one will be disappointed. I can tell them that much. Somebody said
I don't think I haven't even seen it yet. So
we'll show you off.
We're all together. Well, sure. I can do surprises too.
I think the alternate head will probably give you a captain for your Fairless Rangers.
Exactly.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, Thanos was enhance. Jason's brain malfunctioning. Yeah, I think that's the robot speech brain is malfunctioning for Jason. I don't think it's an internet problem. Maybe that's just the robot malfunctioning.
Yeah. Shutting down.
Contacted Cyberdyne Systems to find out if there's like
a builder or forge faction.
Builders and Forge.
Yeah.
Forge from X-Men /
the X-Men?
X actor.
Solo's onto something.
Or Forge. Yeah, I mean, somebody's gotta make the stuff, right, in the world.
Sure.
So I guess that that to me that's like
metal.
It's like the jaws of something that would like pull
For
out
smithing.
some hot metal or something like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or almost robotic. Yeah. Cool stuff.
Should we share the cover?
Do it now while he's frozen.
We
can't get in trouble if he's frozen.
I mean, we've seen the official cover of issue 6. This is the alternate version. And it's
So
spoiler free, so we don't have a problem.
Oh God, that's gorgeous.
Yeah.
I have seen this, but not laid out. Oh wait, I don't think I have seen this.
No, this is brand new. This just
I haven't seen this. Who's the artist?
Brand new. Hold on just a second. I'm having internet issues. I'm actually trying to pull him up now. Let me see here. I know his first name's Pete, but I'd like to give his let's see here. Peter Carroll from the UK.
Has he done anything else? Let's see. Peter Carroll.
You know what? I discovered him on Instagram. I'm going to find his Instagram. Let me see here.
2 R's, 2 L's.
Let me see here. Correct. Yes. Yeah. He does a bunch of these portraits. I discovered him just looking through the discovery feed.
I know exactly who he is. He's done like a bunch of
he does a
ones,
bunch
right?
of like Motu stuff.
Oh yeah. I featured him on the channel before. Love his stuff.
He's got great work. Art of Carol.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Yes.
Let me see.
Yeah.
I'll share the link and maybe we can kind of scroll through a little bit and show off some of his stuff. He doesn't have enough followers, in my opinion. He's almost got 8,400 right now. Hopefully we can give him a little bit of a boost. I'm going to share this in the Instagram and Facebook messages if we want to pull that up later on.
That's
Yeah,
why it
but
looks so
I-
familiar, because he had a series of other, mainly Motu, and then he expanded to other
Right. Yeah, he did-
worlds that are exactly
Yeah.
like this, the side profiles.
Exactly.
Gorgeous
He did a
stuff.
Thundercat that really caught my attention. I think it was not Jackalman, Vultureman. So that really caught my attention. And then I reached out to him. He was really gracious and made this gorgeous piece for us. So hopefully we'll do more work with him in the future.
Oh man, that is so awesome. Yeah, I wish I could. He was selling prints of these, and I was like, oh, but yeah, they're beautiful.
I mean, I would, he's sending this painting to us, so I'll probably have it framed up.
Nice.
But
Acrylic?
the source material, we sent him the gorillas profile and then a couple of shots of the action figures to kind of get some references. So I think he knocked it out of the park. I think it would make a cool shirt at some point.
This is his Instagram here. I put a link in the chat there, but this is his work. He started doing these black ones, these sort of black background ones, which look really, really great for the villains.
They look so cool. Yeah, look how cool that is.
Thundercat stuff.
What I loved is that he was
So the
doing like obscure characters as well from Motu. Like he was doing new adventure stuff, and it was just really cool to kind of see all of them side by side. And yeah, the Thundercats are dope. Whew, look at that, Mr. Freeze.
DC, Batman stuff.
So cool.
Zombified Motu stuff.
Those are cool. I like that.
Whew.
Yeah, good stuff. Really, really cool.
Good call, man. Good dude.
I really like when
collaborations.
Yeah, I really like when artists have like a very specific look. I mean, I'm sure he does other stuff, but I like that it's
right.
When you look at his Instagram, you know what you're looking at, and it's even the way he presents it too, right?
Nice.
Like a little twist, like a little sideways, and there's angle to it, so you're never going to be confused about what you're looking at. Very, very cool.
Yeah. Really, really cool.
Okay, moving on. What
sorry, before that, Adam, just curious as far as the comics go. So that's the alt cover. Do you know what the production difference is in terms of how many the alt covers are? How does that work on the comic book end?
So that's up to Diamond. So what they do is they put in their order, and essentially it just says how many people order the special edition cover. The main cover so far has always outsold the special edition covers. However, this next issue, I'm curious to see which one's going to outsell because it's got strong stuff. So, he's done tons of work for Nickelodeon, Disney, Marvel. He's been doing a lot of Godzilla stuff lately. So his cover is a portrait of Kanji, which is just really, really cool looking. So that'll be the special edition of issue 3. I can't wait to see it. I mean, I know what it means. I know what it looks like. I mean, I can't wait for you guys to get it in hand is what I should say.
And who did issue 4, the alt cover?
You know what? I have to look at it. He's on Instagram and he's got quite a lot of followers as well.
Is that Tom?
I believe it is Tom. Yeah, I believe
Whalen?
It is Tom.
Who's again?
No, Tom. I'm sorry. Tom Whalen is strong stuff. He did issue 3.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. He did issue 3. Okay.
I don't have it right in front of me. I'm on the downstairs computer. So
all that means though is that if they're producing a lot less for the comic book collectors, that means there's going to be less.
Yeah,
of those
it definitely makes it a collectible. And what's nice is with the exception of issue 1, because I forgot to re-enter the URLs on the back because of the Kickstarter stuff. All the images all the issues going forward will have the URL code that indicates it's a first printing. So if at some point we do offer a reprint, you'll know it'll be super obvious that it's a reprint of, you know, the special edition covers. What's up, Scott? You survived the hurricanes?
Next up, foil.
Yeah.
Foil variants. No.
You know, I would
collector's
love to do
cards
that.
and all that random stuff. All right, what next? Should we go into Joe Fest? You guys want to talk about Joe Fest? I know
I'm curious. We did, but like I know you guys had so much more, so I'm really curious to see it.
Yeah, I have a bunch of pictures, and I'll like I kind of put together the main ones, and then if we want to talk about anything else, I may have a picture of a table or whatever, so we can sort of look at that. But as far as what I've got, let me bring this up. This is my trip. This is what I fly over to get to Atlanta.
Dude, you took a prop plane?
No.
What?
No, that's where I always sit on the plane. Is right by the this is a small plane from Kelowna to Calgary.
Yeah. So I didn't even think they still did prop planes. That must have been loud.
This is like a from Kelowna, you can get on a much smaller plane than this. There's planes that fly out of Kelowna with like 4 passengers. Anyway.
Dude,
right?
Sounds fun.
Then from there, I landed in Atlanta, and if you live in a pineapple under the sea, that you have to go through this line to get it in. I just thought this was funny. Like, why does it have a pineapple? How many people are visiting from somewhere that a pineapple is relevant?
You know what it is? I'll tell you why. And this is a total guess, but it's for customs reasons where they're going to be like, do you have any fruit, or do you have any kind of like, you know,
maybe
anything that's carrying any kind of potential pest, like a bug, or, you know,
and they intentionally choose something. Yeah, and they intentionally choose one that's recognizable and just not germane to you.
I just thought
your country.
It was, if
it's not even a pineapple
doing this.
Yeah, it's not. It's actually it's a weird.
It's a bad pineapple though too.
Yeah. So
now, what is it?
They're just like weird. It was just weird.
I know what it is. It's not a pineapple at all. It's a potted plant. That's what that is. That is a shrubbery of some sort. A shrubbery.
It's the weird thing is if you're coming from Canada or the US, you can see sort of right behind it. Hold on. Oh, where did everybody go?
Oh, I see the American flag and then the Canadian flag.
Yeah, so if you're American or Canadian, they just put those on and they're like, "Hey, you guys, come over here." Like there's no graphics or anything fun if you're like kind of domestic, right? Right. Anyway, from there I got to drive on this highway, and if you can sort of make out how this highway works, it's a straight line, and it was flat, and it was a boring drive for like 2.5 hours.
This is what a lot of the South is like. There's not a lot of hills.
It's terrible. Especially for me, coming from somewhere where there's no straight lines, and it's like everything's mountains, and it's up and it's down, and it's beautiful, and all this kind of, it was rough.
The thing about terrain like this though is it's perfect to daydream. Like, you'll get some really great ideas, and you're like, have no recollection. You'll drive like 15 miles, and you're like, I don't have any recollection of driving or switching lanes or anything.
No, nothing at all. That was exactly it. Like I had like, I think in each direction I saw at least one car like flipped over in the ditch, and I was like, how does that happen? And I was like, I get how it happens.
That's
like,
how
you just kind of lose track of what you're doing. You're just so bored that you're like, man, I'm just gonna drive off the road and be done with this. But yeah, it was good. I later found out, as Jason knows, and I think Brick, I might have mentioned this before in a video that we've done, but Arlen and Ari flew on the same plane as me from Calgary to Atlanta, and they could have been in the car with me, so it could have been a great,
I know, right?
Hang out and chat for a couple hours. But now that we know that, we can sort of like work that out and plan that better for next time, so that the car rental's a little cheaper. We can split it, and the ride is a little bit more enjoyable. I did, however, map out all the targets between Atlanta and and Augusta, and I actually stopped at like 3 Targets and 2 Walmarts. I stopped at a Walmart that was easily the biggest Walmart I've ever been in my life. It was like bigger than the biggest Costco I've ever been in my life. So it was like I went in and I was like, I did about a 10-second lap. I kind of went straight to where the toy section was. Surprise, surprise. Which is the same in every Walmart in the world, I think. Didn't see anything. Surprise, surprise. And went straight back out. I was like, I can't. This is too much. I wouldn't know the next thing to look at in this place. So I was just in and out really quick.
All the Walmarts in the South are super Walmart.
This was like a super duper Walmart.
Did have like a restaurant on each side in each entrance.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what we're used to. I mean, when Derek and I were up north, we went to a Walmart and we were like, what is this? It was almost like a commissary. We were like, this is so tiny. Like it almost felt like just like a CVS. It was the equivalent, like it was that small. And we were like, deflated. But those super Walmarts actually have toys in more than one section, similar to the Target, but they're like further apart. They have like the toy aisles, and then where the electronics, they have a little bit more collector stuff. So if you're looking for NECA, or our local Walmart actually has Super 7. I don't know how common that is, but it's kind of fun, like hunt around a little bit.
I didn't see anything. I mean, I wasn't honestly looking for really anything. I was looking for the Jurassic World baby Apatosaurus, but I don't think it was even out at the time. It wasn't there, so I moved on pretty quick. Sean Colleran says when Bart brought bullfrogs to Australia in The Simpsons, and Austin said, "What if Bikini Bottom visits? They need to know where they line up."
That's
exactly.
true.
That's what I thought. Collectic Brothers said, "Welcome to the Midwest." Thanos says, "At least it's green." That's a good point. And Scott Baker says, we have overpasses in Houston, but that's about as hilly as it gets. So Austin said, imagine Nebraska, it's corn, both sides of the road for miles. I've driven through, and I can't remember where it was, but there's somewhere.
I actually want to visit Nebraska.
Oh, yeah. Why not, right? I want to visit everywhere. I drove through somewhere.
Been there.
Where it was miles and miles and miles of sunflower seeds, sunflowers, right? So it was beautiful, but at some point you kind of go, okay, I get it. I want something different. So I can imagine corn being virtually the same. Austin says sometimes beans. Okay, so they mix it up. That's good. Let's see. Iodine 74 says we've got toys in different locations at some of our Walmarts, so you can toy hunt in one store. Wow. That would be, I wouldn't know what to do because I would get so frustrated.
I take it back. We actually have so at our local Walmart we have toys in 4 different sections. We've got the toy aisles, we've got the electronics section that has some, then we've got the discount section that's way like near the gardening section. And then the last section that's got toys and like collecting stuff that I'm just like totally not interested in. Towards the front where the checkout is, they've got an aisle in between the self checkouts that are like Pokemon cards and stuff like that. But they'll have like
bags and stuff. Yeah,
they'll have blind bag toys kind of peppered in there. But I'm never interested in it, so I don't think about it.
Yeah. All right, moving on. We could talk about that drive for 2.5 hours, and then you would understand how it was. But anyway, this is a view from our hotel room. So this is the venue basically for Joe Fest. Beautiful spot right on the river.
It's awesome.
It was hot, but it wasn't crazy hot. I didn't think it was as bad. Everybody was like, it's gonna be humid, you're gonna want to die, it's gonna be terrible. It's like hotter here right now than it was there. I
thought it felt pretty good, to tell you the truth.
I don't think it was that humid either. I've been in much more humid conditions than that, but anyway.
Yeah.
Then I got in a little bit late. They'd already set up the table. So they were like, yeah, go down to the lobby and then
how cool were those? I mean, come on.
and follow the Skeletron 3D printed board, cardboard cutout things. These are 3D, so these had like layers to them. These weren't just like a flat card. You can kind of see like how there's shadows behind here, and there's like shadow. That's not printed on. That's like it was layered, and it was that sort of like foam core printed board.
Yep.
I
wonder if they're going to reuse those, like those little signs.
I hope so.
The Joe Fest part is removable, so I'm hoping they reuse them. They're so cool, and these photos look awesome, but they don't convey how big they are in person. I want to say they were 6 feet tall, but I don't remember. I just remember them being.
They were they were
big.
all of.
They look like a person.
Yes, they were. They were. This was
right.
like 1-to-1 scaled characters, and they were really, really cool. The art, just the beautiful art that Skeletron is using. And I don't really. I should have asked Ben. I meant to ask Ben. I don't know if Joe Fest sort of asked them to do it necessarily, or if they asked Joe Fest.
I think that was a Ben idea, to tell you the truth.
Yeah,
because I saw.
It was just really cool to see these.
I don't know if we shared any photos of the Skeletron and Marauder's booth. Was like it was a combination. And I could just doing Joe Fest 5 years in a row, and this being like Skeletron's first year, I was like, this is a Ben idea, or this is a Mark idea, because they had like, it was just so cool. They had 4 partitions, and they were all like light up. So if you haven't gone to Joe Fest, another toy company that did something similar was the Legendary toy line that's coming out. Hopefully they'll have their stuff out. They had that stuff at Legion's Con. It's really cool and impressive. It was just an all-around really fun display.
And then once you weave your way from the hotel, so the hotel is kind of connected to the convention center by way of like doors and hallways and left turns, right turns. It was very kind of convoluted and confusing the first couple times, because there's nothing that sort of points you in the direction apart from
which is why this is so nice.
Yeah, exactly. It was so
this
weird.
Was the first time that I didn't get lost. Again, 5th year, first time I didn't get lost going from the hotel to the convention center. It's usually like you make like one wrong right turn, and then you have to backtrack and then try to find
you end up outside.
Right.
Yeah. It was just weird. But anyway, from this floor, this is the other thing. The convention is the convention center, is entrance from the street on the ground floor. But to get there from the hotel, you actually end up sort of entering from the second floor. So when you sort of go through the last set of doors, this is what you see from sort of a balcony. You get there and you're just sort of exposed to the whole venue.
Look at that. Woo.
And it's
so
massive.
Cool.
I don't think this picture really conveys like just how much stuff was going on. And this is before the show even opened, so people are still kind of setting up and getting settled in. And
right.
This is the calm before the storm a little bit. This is so if I sort of turn to the left, this was sort of the left corner. I cropped it a little bit, but in the very far back corner, there's Eternia Dreams, and they had like really cool cardboard cutouts sort of above that were cutouts of Eternia. So like the 3 towers.
I think they're like 20 feet tall, like no exaggeration. Adam, can I point something out real quick?
Yes.
In this photo. So looking at this photo, this is obviously the back of the showroom, but you'll see a whole bunch of like white blocks, like which is the back of the banners. We've done shows like this where there's a lot of traffic coming in from the back of the show because that's where the hotel's at, which is why all of our banners are now double-sided, so that whenever we're in that kind of situation, people will see it from several angles. But with that being said,
like this is a good example, right? You got this
right, exactly,
great big, like this was Operation Recall and and the 3D Joe's guys, but you wouldn't know it from the back. So if you came in from this entrance, you wouldn't necessarily see what you're getting into. Now so Big Bad Toy Store has a double-sided one. Fresh Monkey Fiction has a double-sided one. Super 7. I think these were hard walls. Like their whole booth was like they were booth on the floor. It was wild. And then they left most of it. Like they left like cabinets and things that they were like, if anybody wants these, you're welcome to them. You can see Marauders.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought they rented that stuff out.
No. Marauders is sort of in that back corner there. You can see how well it's lit up. So it's the Marauders was on this side. Marauders Task Force was here, and then on the back side of these banners was the Skeletron stuff. So Marauders had their stuff displayed over here, and then on the other side was the Skeletron stuff. We're hidden behind these leaves.
Behind the logo.
So
and that's okay.
How convenient is that?
Can you zoom? Do you have any zoom and scroll ability? I don't know.
No, but I can just show you the table.
There we go.
Cool, but just a big picture overview. Going back to the other one, like how much would you say? Because there's a mix of like vendors, people selling stuff, and then there's a mix of like creators and toy
yes,
line.
Arlen's booth there.
What's that sort of like breakdown? Would you say? Because it would like are we talking like a good 30% is like creators?
Guys, I'm gonna hop off. We're headed to the party. It was great seeing y'all. Hopefully we'll see everyone again on Wednesday. Y'all have a great rest of y'all weekend. Bye-bye.
All right. Yeah, that's Arlen's booth there, if you want to call it a booth. They had a table with a bunch of random things. It was pretty last minute for them. So, do you need me to kick you out? What's going on?
I was gonna say, don't say or do anything weird. You're
trying
still
to
here.
Figure out how to get out here. I'll just remove him. There we go. No. He's still backstage though. He hasn't left.
He's like when Homer goes to the bathroom and that.
Yeah, if you change your mind, Jason, we could just bring you back in. But he's still trying to figure out how to. There's a button that says "Leave Studio." You just hit that button. No, there wasn't a ton of comic book vendors. There wasn't a ton of creators that weren't like there was no artist alley, if that makes sense. Like most of the creators were like they have a toy line and they
established toy line,
or sort of trying to establish their toy lines. You know, there was like the Fist guys were there, Chicken Fried Toys was there, and not that they're trying to establish toy lines; they have toy lines, but there was.
Just in general, you can mix them all up, but I'm just curious because sometimes you go to a toy show and you're like a different vendor selling stuff versus being able to interact with the people who make the stuff.
I would say it was like 40% that.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Because there was lots of people doing some like G.I. Joe custom stuff as well.
Yeah.
So guys printing like 1/18 scale stuff to go with your G.I. Joes. There's a bunch of O-ring lines now, right? So that's the other thing is for G.I. Joe, there was like a lot of that. There was lots of vendors too. I would say vendors made up about 50%.
Sure.
And then another 10% was artists and comic book and stuff like that. But it was, I mean, I'm just kind of scanning the pictures. Yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe 30% was like people that own toy lines or were sort of pushing their own product.
That's a lot still. I mean, knowing
it was a
the
lot.
Ones that you listed, like that's a lot of different people there to kind of be able to interact with and hear from the creators. That's a cool
I mean,
show.
even the Big Bad Toy Store booth, right? Was filled with the creators, like people behind Monster Force, people behind all the lines that they're doing. Like those were the people that were at the Big Bad Toy Store booth. So the Big Bad Toy Store wasn't even like selling, Super 7 Ultimates or G.I. Joes. They were sort of presenting and promoting the smaller toy lines that they're sort of pushing and sort of working in partnership with and stuff like that.
That's a really cool show. I love that.
Yeah, and then like Savage Crucible was there as well, and Sean Strupp was at their table. So like again, you had tables that had more than one sort of creative groups with them. So it was really, really cool. Like Savage Crucible was next to us. On the other side, there was guys doing custom G.I. Joe, like 1/18 scale vehicles and some toys. Chicken Fried Toys was across from us. Delta 17 was across from us. The Creative Beast Studio was just sort of down the aisle from us. so it felt like it was mostly like creatives, and it was really cool because you could go and talk to them and ask them,
Yeah.
tell me more about the line. What was your inspiration for this? So yeah, it was really, really good. It was fun. And I would say too that the vendors, sometimes you go to shows and all the vendors have the exact same stuff. It did feel like there was a good assortment of what the vendors were selling as well. So there was, if you didn't find something at one vendor, it wasn't like the next vendor had all the same stuff. There was a good mix, whether it was GI Joes or Transformers or, I mean, Eternity of Dreams obviously had like Masters of the Universe and stuff like that. And
Right.
there was a guy that just had like sort of Japanese stuff. This booth here with the lanterns.
Okay.
He had like Japanese snacks and like anime inspired stuff. So it was just
Cool.
it was cool to see that. Actually, this blue one was the what's it called, Heritage Auctions or something like that. So the guys that are doing these estate sales of like really, really expensive collectibles and things like that, they were there just sort of talking about, how they do things and sort of how the process works and just sort of getting people aware that they existed, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Good.
there was our booth. This was on Friday night, so this is when it's perfect and pristine. It looked like this pretty much the whole weekend, except we started running out of certain things. But there you've got some of the new banners. So you've got the new banner with the new Kickstarter stuff. The Kali banner is one of the older ones, but then the Mongrel and the Gladiator Pale there, looking really, really cool. Waves 1, 2, and 3 on the table. The Kickstarter stuff, on display front and center with the very, very professional looking cardboard sign that said "Do not touch," please. And then the Wave 4, early production, I guess. They're production figures, but they there was only a couple of them made just to make sure that everything was okay.
Right.
So there they are. There's 2 sets. I got 1 set and Derek got the other set. So that's why Jason's saying he doesn't even have his own, because there was only 2 of each. And we basically claimed them. We basically said, "Oh, that's cool. You got 2, 1 for me and 1 for him. Perfect." So Jason got to open up set and play with them, but Jason gave me the boxed ones and Derek took the open ones. Let's see here.
I mean, you guys were working the show, so yeah.
We were working. Yeah. I mean,
It's a great perk.
He can just print more. He can just make more stuff and play with it and paint it. And, we don't get that stuff until it gets to this point. Right. So that's kind of where it's a little bit different. Endless Fable said 25% creators. I think it might have been more, but maybe he's not including the 20% 3D makers and cloth goods, and I'm sort of including those. So I'm saying it was about 40%.
Yeah.
Collecting
Yeah,
and the only telling me on the show, it was a good show.
Yeah, and that's why I asked, because it's like it's a different thing. We have toy shows, and essentially they're vendors selling stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, essentially that's what you're doing, but you are the creatives and you're also showing off new stuff that's coming. And so the difference is, like, I've just found, man, in the era of the internet, right? It's like we can access so many things, right? So it's like I can kind of see the product, and oftentimes so can these vendors, and sometimes they bring things that are not hard to find. Sometimes they'll bring things like straight from the Walmart, and sometimes there's a markup. So it's just that, no offense to the vendors, but like oftentimes it's kind of like stuff I've seen before and can get elsewhere.
Yeah.
But what I can't get necessarily is like these creators, including the 3D folks. And, that's not stuff that's easily accessible, to see it all there and to talk with them about it. And that's just a different kind of show. So that's I'm with John, like that. This kind of show is exciting to me.
And what's kind of cool about this too is that I have these pictures of some of the weapons. Jason had 3D printed a bunch of the upcoming weapons, and this isn't even all of them. This was the 3 that for some reason I'd taken pictures of, because they're coming up in waves soon. But he also had printed some of the weapons that are coming up with the Kickstarter stuff. And it was sort of there for people to kind of see and get a feel for and sort of see the texture. what's crazy about the the Mesoamerican Ahakian sword axe thing, there's a name for it, I forget it, forgive me.
Yeah.
But you can see the wood grain on it better in the sculpt than when you can when it's painted, and you can see how the onyx is like chipped. Is it onyx?
Yeah.
I can't remember. Somebody clarified for me what it was, but
yeah, it is. Or obsidian.
Obsidian. Yeah, that's
obsidian.
what it is.
Obsidian. Yeah.
Which is a type of
Makwawit or something. You don't pronounce it, but yeah,
yeah,
that's my best approximation.
And somebody actually in a comment or actually, I think when I did my unboxing, yeah, somebody when I did my unboxing sort of explained it, and then I sort of went down a bit of a rabbit hole, and apparently like when they put the obsidian in, they just put a chunk of obsidian that's like cut, but then as it hits, it actually breaks bits off and it becomes sharper and more damaging. So the more this weapon gets used, the worse it gets to sort of get hit with it, sort of thing, which I didn't know. Just really, really cool. That's the stone axe that comes with the mongrel, and then the bow and arrow, which will come with the Feralist Ranger. And something to note is that arrow is notched at the back. So there is right at the very end, there is a little notch there for the string kind of, yeah.
That's cool.
But sort of on the keeping on the sort of topic of getting to chat with creatives. This was, I've only included a few pictures of some of the things that I was really, really excited about. As I said, I've got pictures of a whole bunch of tables, but you can see probably better versions of those, and you probably already have. I just pulled a couple pictures that I wanted to chat about a little bit.
That's a great shot. And note to Adam, send that to me so I can show that later. But that's
awesome.
Absolutely.
I will. I got a little video, like a turnaround, not turnaround, but like a little wraparound video too. I can send to you.
So this is Cyberzoic. I'm sorry, Creative Beast Studios Eons. Yeah.
So this is Creative Beast Studios sort of partnership with Eon, which is like a PBS YouTube channel where they just do like the history of the Earth, and so they've done a bunch of dinosaur stuff, and they've done a bunch of Cenozoic mammal stuff, and on and on and on. It's actually a really cool channel, and I've started like watching their videos. I subscribed to their channel. I was like, oh, I want to see this stuff now. So they announced about a week ago that they were in a partnership with Eon, and then I think just on Thursday or Friday of this week, they revealed the 1/18 scale woolly mammoth, which I knew was coming, and I thought that was the announcement that they were doing on July 2nd, but they put it in a shadow behind, and nobody seemed to notice that they put a shadow of a mammoth in there. This thing is adorable, and I so badly wanted to steal it, but I didn't steal it.
Well, is this to scale to the 118 to what the 118 would be? So like it's tricky because it's
this like big.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when you say that, I don't know what that means really, because I don't hang out with a whole lot of woolly mammoth. But so is that really how big it is? What you just?
Yeah, it was about 2 inches tall. And then the 1/18 scale mammoth will be like 6 inches tall. So it's
okay.
Head and a half high, which is more or less elephant size, right?
Yeah.
From what
That's cool.
know. They also had this.
My baby, that thing is. Is that to scale?
Well, to scale with what? An imaginary dragon?
I don't mean to scale. I mean, is that in scale? Is that
this is
like
prototype? This is is like the test shot. This is this is what they're using to make the toy.
But this is not spit out for molds yet.
This is.
It is. Ooh, nice.
Or no, sorry, I can't remember if this is the fine cut or the test shot. So the fine cut is what gets used to make the mold, and then the test shot is what the first comes out to but I believe, based on the coloration, that it's a test shot. Because typically a fine cut's like 3D printed, and it'd all be printed with the same material. So because this is multiple different tones, I believe this is a test shot. I'm 90% sure it's a test shot.
It's
And I get to
beautiful.
play with it.
Mm-hmm.
So that wasn't like they didn't have these prototypes on display for everybody to play with.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, if you were there sort of when the you know the event was sort of shut down, they let me play with all this stuff, and this
Nice.
thing moves so incredibly well. I'm seriously second guessing not ordering the dragon, because
Wait, you didn't order?
No, I ordered like all the dinos. I didn't do any dragons.
Oh, okay.
Because it's not a mount, and so that was my. I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep it Dino Riders. That was my way of sort of like
Creating
limiting
rules, limits.
what
I hear you.
But the
Well, as you know, this is
articulation in
the only
head and
thing I
neck and
got.
jaw and the tail and like the wings move and you got like it's bananas. This thing is so cool.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
And it's really heavy. They have their 1/18 scale T-Rex, which is heavy. This is heavier. There's more plastic here. It is a substantial feeling toy.
I forget, for the Kickstarter, we didn't pay for shipping it, huh?
No, you did.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's in there.
Man. Yeah, it's in there. Ostradamus Toy says, just sub now, and I know what I'm going to be stuck watching this week. Collecting Brothers said the PBS Eon series on early human evolution is so good. There's one episode that goes over our predators, like giant birds in ancient time. Yeah, it's good. And it's a cool partnership. And it's funny because I'm going the Dino Riders route with the line, right? And and in the same way that Dino Riders were so accurate for their time in terms of their dinosaur sculpts, that the Smithsonian put their toys in the gift shop of the Smithsonian Museum. Eons, which is PBS, it's now sort of like the for some people it's sort of like the scholarly-ist channel, maybe. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it's just cool that now that they're doing essentially Dino Riders. Forgive me, David, I know that you don't think that way, but they're essentially sort of seeing that same thing where somebody saw what they're doing with the dinosaurs and was like, we want to work with these guys. So that's a great way for them to get funding, basically, to do the molds and to sort of speed up the process a little bit, so they don't necessarily have to do Kickstarters for everything.
Absolutely.
But I do like the route that they're going as far as doing Cyberzoic in waves as Kickstarters. So this was their sort of prototypes table, and you can see a bunch of the Cyberzoic stuff. So the Allosaurus is from Cyberzoic, Smilodon is Cyberzoic, the Dilophosaurus is Cyberzoic, the dragon is of course from Cyberzoic. But for Cyberzoic 2, they had the Stegosaurus, and he is a big boy as well. He's almost the same size as that dragon. They had the Andrewsarchus, and then the 1/18 scale Smilodon there down in the front. And so it was actually kind of interesting. I was watching Toy Galaxy Live, and they were talking about that Smilodon in the front, and they had sort of lost track of that one's 1/18, but the one for Cyberzoic is 1/12. So they're doing both scales. And so the gray one was smaller, quite adorable, really. And then that tiny little baby Triceratops.
Didn't they just? And so you see the 1/2 over the Cyberzoic bigger one, right?
This one.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but they're also. Is the black one in that same scale, the same larger scale?
Yes. So they're doing Cenozoic. So the black one is also in a 1/12 scale.
That's what I thought.
Wait.
Okay.
Now I don't even know. I'm pretty
sure it is.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
But then in the Beasts of the Cenozoic line, where it's strictly the like scientifically accurate stuff, they're going to do a 1/18 scaled Smilodon, which is the smaller version to fit with the woolly mammoth appropriately, and the baby woolly mammoth, which, like I said, is adorable. It's just so cute, and it has an articulated trunk, which was very
awesome.
cute.
What about that other mammal in the front there, the big long snout?
The Andrewsarchus, yeah, that's
That was what you're referring
know.
to. Okay,
Yeah,
got
and a
it.
lot of people in the nerdy dinosaur groups are really, really excited about that. I didn't know that it existed until
I've seen them, but
until this
I
stuff.
didn't know what it was called.
Yeah, and
It's
so
cool.
yeah, it looks cool. It looks better in person than I sort of thought it was gonna look. But anyway,
You know what? Creative Beast stuff is not like a lot of folks have commented. They're like, this stuff is expensive or price on the pricier end of things, and they are. But man, the value in just the level of craft in these things, as well as you mentioned, all the articulation, as well as how they end up getting painted. Man, these things are like beautiful. Absolutely beautiful, like to the level of like a Mythic Legions, like that level of detail. Yeah,
these
it's
things
great
are
stuff.
phenomenal. They are well worth the price, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then they do all sorts of different colorways. So you're like, if you're used to other toy lines, you're like, oh, reuse. But then you look at them, they're just like, no, it's like you can't even. They're just gorgeous, completely different.
And it makes
paint
sense too.
jobs.
Like in a lot of cases, they're doing like different versions. So like a perfect example is the Allosaurus. There's two Allosaurus here, but they're two different subspecies of the Allosaurus. So the head's slightly different. You can't really see from this picture, but there's like a little bit more going on in the crown of one of them versus the other one. And so they're doing it that way. The Dilophosaurus, the reason that there's two is because there's a slight variation. I think the Deinonychus, there's only one, and they just did two colorways. Like some of them, it's just different colorways, but where there's sort of like a subspecies, they are trying to sort of include that in the design, which is why they're expensive. The tooling and stuff for these is pretty bonkers.
So Creative Beasts will essentially have like 4 lines: Beasts of the Mesozoic, Beasts of the Cenozoic, Cyberzoic, and Eons.
No, so that my understanding is that the Eons will be, it's like a partnership where they'll kind of sell Creative Beast Studios kind of repackaged in some cases, but it's just sort of
gotcha.
It's so like David and that his sort of contact person just sort of come together and go, okay, what do we want? What 2 or 3 species do we want to do? And then they kind of go from there, I think.
And do you know where the target market is? Are those like museums kind of a thing? Or
I think that's kind of the idea. Like, I think it's one of those things where this just gets more eyes on what Creative Beast Studios is doing, and
that's excellent. That's
sort of
great.
allows them a much bigger audience. I mean, Eons, I want to say, has like 3.5 million subs or something like that. So there's a lot of eyes on those shows. So if they put a Creative Beast ad at the beginning with a link, no offense to the Dino nerds, but the Dino nerds love this stuff and are in a lot of ways like underserviced, right? Whereas Oz said about the Andrewsarchus, he said they haven't had an articulated toy of that ever. And that's true of a lot of these species, because a lot of these species are lesser known species, or for lack of a better way of sort of explaining it, they're not Jurassic Park species. They're not the 10 species that get recycled every time somebody makes dinosaur stuff. The Ceratopsian line alone, there's like a dozen different Ceratopsians, and people just think there's Triceratops, right? Like, so then you see these other ones, and you're like, what the heck is this thing? Like, why does it have 37 horns instead of 3? So it's just really, really cool.
Good stuff, man. That's great.
Yeah. But just the fact that, you get to see all the prototypes, you get to talk to the creators again, like you said, and then moving on from there, like Delta 17, this was like our view from our table all week.
Nice.
And actually right behind them, rated, this was Sergeant Slaughter's table right here. So Derek was like yelling at Sergeant Slaughter all day on Sunday. But yeah, Delta 17 again, they got the new stuff. They got the Hailstorm unit. They had the comic books, they had patches and stickers and like a bunch of cool stuff. So that was a hot table. There was a lot of people hitting those guys up. This is the Super 7 booth from the inside, from we saw it from the back, from the outside, but this was their booth. So they had a bunch of cool stuff. They had a bunch of Godzilla stuff and a bunch of reaction stuff. Whoops.
They just hit up like a local IKEA or something.
Yeah,
With
they
those
did.
Billy bookcases. Yeah.
And just bought a bunch of bookcases and some tables and kind of set everything up.
Yep.
And shipped their product in, set it all up, and then when they were done, they shipped the product back out that was left over, and kind of were like, does anybody want any of this stuff? Because they realize it's cheaper to just buy it and leave it than it is to travel with it. But they had reaction stuff. They had some of the GI Joe Ultimates. They had the GI Joe posters, and I think they had a puzzle and stuff like that. I was disappointed that they didn't have the Richard Scary Busy Town reaction figures. I actually asked, and they were like, well, we could ship them to you. And I was like, I live in Canada. It doesn't really work the same.
Hey, real quick. Oh, good. You're still here. I was curious. Did they have also GI Joe Ultimates there?
Yes. Yeah.
What was the like? Did you notice the crowd response? Because sometimes online you'll get like echo chamber of like, I hate this stuff, but like, did it seem like General Joe fans at this show were checking it out and curious about them?
I think it's a weird one because GI Joe fans are I don't know. I mean, GI Joe fans, there tends to be like 3 camps. There's GI Joe fans that are fans of everything GI Joe, and so they're willing, and they have a little bit of everything. They have the vintage figures, they have the modern figures, they have classified figures. They probably have a couple Super 7 Ultimates. They've got pillowcases and soap dishes and a little bit of everything. Just the whole gamut of like what's available. They're into. Then there's the hardcore vintage guys that are like, I don't collect anything past 88. And so they seem to me to be the ones that are a little more standoffish about anything that's not an O-ring figure. And then there's kind of the people that have sort of gone all in on 6-inch, gone in on classified, that maybe have like, oh, I love GI Joe as a kid. And they seem more open to the Super 7 Ultimate stuff, but they also seem like, well, I've already got a 6-inch. What do I need a sort of 7-inch version for?
Yeah.
So the GI Joe Ultimates seem a bit like they're in a weird spot to me. Like I don't know of anybody that's like really excited about them.
Yeah.
There's people that are kind of like, oh, I love the Sunbow era deco, so I'll buy this, and the accessories are cool. But we saw that wave of repaints. The women, the line of women repaints that got canceled. Like it didn't even make it past the sort of pre-order window.
Right.
And I don't think it's because people don't like female figures. I think it's because people wanted more characters rather than wave 4 to be repaints.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, it seems like it seems like it's one of those things within sort of the GI Joe community that isn't. It hasn't quite landed in the way that maybe Super 7 had hoped it would or wanted it to.
Yeah. Just wondered. Yeah, I wondered who, because I do wonder who that's for. And you and I have talked a lot about how like Super 7 definitely has its own unique model.
Yes.
So I've just sort of wondered how that hit, especially with GI Joe. And I've shared my thoughts on how like when Super 7 crossed over into your Ninja Turtles Masters of the Universe GI Joe world, that also changed things for them. They were reaching a different type of collector and buyer. So, anyway,
and I think
just wondered.
And as I've said with some of the other lines, whether it's Ninja Turtles or Thundercats or Silverhawks, like I think some of those, their Ninja Turtles are essentially the Playmates figures improved upon,
right?
Which I love. I don't want the sculpts to go away to get more articulation. I want it to look pretty much like a an 80s Ninja Turtle, a 90s Ninja Turtle.
Right.
The Thundercats, I think they're doing great stuff with the Thundercats, articulation aside, but I don't necessarily need it to hit hero poses when I'm playing with Tigra. You know what I mean? I get why people kind of you know, there's people that want articulation. There are people that want their figures to hit that hero pose. And I get that. Super 7 Ultimates is probably not the line for you. I don't get why people are so up in arms that things exist that they don't want. It's sort of like, okay, just move past it. Maybe the reaction plus stuff is more up your alley, right? So they're going. I'm a little bit confused. I thought the reaction plus was O-ring, but somebody told me that it's sort of it feels and looks like O-ring, but it doesn't have the little O-ring, so it's not technically speaking an O-ring figure. But these are, from everything that I've sort of heard and been led to believe, they're kind of not replacing the reaction line, but these are for figures that sort of warrant the articulation. This is what they're doing. What excites me most about the Reaction Plus line is that with all the IPs that they've done in Reaction, with all the IPs that they've done in Ultimates, where does the Reaction Plus line go from here? I don't necessarily want a 5 POA Ninja Turtle, but a O-ring Ninja Turtle or a O-ring Thundercats or like a O-ring whatever might be a really, really cool toy. I think that the possibilities with the Reaction Plus line are kind of limitless. Like there's just so much cool stuff that they could do.
I mean, there was a time when people saw those the regular reaction, and still to this day they were like, "What is that? I don't buy that. They're overpriced or garbage." But you know, there's a reason why they're the big money maker for Super 7, and so those folks can say whatever they want. There are people who do find interest in these and the sheer variety of like figures. Now, with that said, part of it's a form factor. Like, oh my God, how cute, vintage. Like this reminds me of the old Kenner stuff. What I love about what Super 7 does is not just the nostalgia for the toys and IPs that we love. Sorry, the IPs that we love, but also the nostalgia for that, like the form factors.
Form, yes.
Yeah. So they've successfully done that with the Kenner 5 POA. I'll just call it Kenner Star Wars 5 POA. Now they've got the G.I. Joe and many others, Micronauts, etc., like O-ring things with Reaction Plus, and like big ups to their logo designers with that Reaction Plus, the little screwdriver thing and the legs and the back, beautiful. And then they've also shown, I don't think they had anything there, but they've been showing that they've got that like 5.5-inch Masters of the Universe type body as well coming out.
The like 7 POA hulky guy. Yeah.
So like they've successfully
Danzig. Yeah.
They've captured like the 3 like big form factors in domestic toys, and like I love that, and it's kind of cool. Like they really are like holding up this toy nostalgia in general. To think that they're like, oh, there's like Kenner Star Wars type toys, there's G.I. Joe Hasbro type toys, and now there's Mattel Master of the Universe type toys across a bunch of different brands. Yeah. Like you said, I can't wait to see what else comes out in the reaction, let alone G.I. Joe, other G.I. Joe figures, because what you've shown them right here is pretty cool for longtime Joe fans.
Yeah, and it's you know, my favorite that they've sort of done is probably that blue bat. So that comes from the like the there was like a 4-part comic book like encyclopedia for G.I. Joe, and that's where that one's pulled from, I believe. Cobra Commander, it looks like the vintage version 1.5 Cobra Commander, but apparently this one's different because this is like a Sunbow specific deco. So it's a little different, and it's a Sunbow Snake Eyes as well. And I was like, okay, well that's he's black. I don't know what else do you do that's different, but and then blonde cover girl. So we got, you know, like the brown haired cover girl in the vintage line. She was blonde, and I'll get it wrong, so forgive me. But like in the first 5 episodes, you know, she was blonde, and then she changed, or vice versa. I can't remember, but. So the figure and the character in the cartoon didn't always match up. So these are 4 figures that have never been made. Their intention is to effectively pick up where the O-ring figures left off, and do more characters, more figures, different decos, things like that. So they're not gonna, you know, redo the original 13. They're gonna make new versions, new decos, new this, that, you know, the twins in the suits, right? Like, let the vintage be, and sort of move forward with figures that will fit in there seamlessly. but you won't already have them. So this is what I think, whether those vintage guys begrudgingly will admit it or not, I think this is going to appeal to an audience that hasn't maybe hit with Super 7 just yet, but yeah.
And on that note, let's be real. That cover girl, if you painted her exactly the same colors as the original figure, it'd be a million times better than that ugly thing that
The
we
weird
got back in the day.
short-haired, creepy
giant
looking
head
one.
peanuts from straight up like Charlie Brown.
Yeah, that
Sorry,
was
cover
weird.
girl.
But anyway, that's the same Scarlet with that head. Is weird too. I mean, how did they miss that so bad? But anyway,
so
we should probably wrap it up here.
Oh yeah, I gotta do that other stupid shit.
Yeah, there was more tables. There was other stuff. There was some cool stuff. Should we share this head and then and wrap it up?
Yeah, but let's just like, because John was saying, and I'm attracted to this show. Like, if this continues to be a thing, and when PowerCon comes back, like this is, I think, a good. The last 2 years, this has been sort of like a good indicator of what's to come. Like this kind of tradition of this show, where like all the indie toy makers come, and folks like Super 7 are there to like share product rather than just sell.
Yes,
like. And I think you said it on Wednesday, or maybe it was a different show, where like, or I'm sorry, maybe you, maybe somebody else, but like SDCC is coming up, right? And like, that's a great place for a lot of people, but it's so huge that like, it's hard to get the attention, and you're competing with your Hasbros, your Mattels, their big reveals. This is an awesome space for folks who are smaller to really go like get some interaction with a bunch of people and get in the, I say news cycle, but it's like get on our nerdy whatever YouTube channels where like 30 people watch, but still like it's
I'll
really
say this.
Cool.
There's a few lines, I like Classified, and now I'm sort of curious what Mattel's going to do with their He-Mans at San Diego Comic-Con. But for the most part, San Diego Comic-Con coverage is like it's an absolute flood. It's an avalanche of stuff. And the things that you end up seeing are like, the big 2 or 3 event type brands. You don't get to see what smaller brands are doing because it just gets buried in all the other coverage. And so I really like that there's shows like this and PowerCon and things like that where the smaller guys get more attention, like you said. And this stuff interests me more. I mean, there's more of a connection to the creators at these shows. The creators tend to want to be more connected to their audience with these smaller brands, whether that's just a product of the way these brands operate. Spiro is 4 of us, right? So it's like it's pretty easy to stay connected, whereas if there's 400, it's like, well, who's the person who's allowed to say what and all that kind of stuff. So I get that, but it was really, really cool. I'm very, very much looking forward to going again. I still got Legions Con coming up this year, but then we'll see what the schedule is for next year. I kind of want to go to more next year, but we'll see what lines up and how things sort of shake out. We'll do the reveal of this head. So and then Ray Paz says, "Dang, what happened to Bushido?"
Yes, I saw that.
We're out of time, Ray.
Man.
You get us talking, and we can. I mean, no, you know what? We'll very, very briefly talk about it, because I'll be honest. There's not that much to talk about. Dan has only done the full renders for this figure, so this is on Death Metal Dan Art's Instagram page. So he's got a bunch of pictures of the first samurai that will come out. There's the prototypes that we had at Legions Con. There's a lot more news to come on this line, so we'll save that for another episode. I know that Dan is very, very busy with a bunch of other things, but he's basically told me that September is going to be his month to do as many completed renders for Bushido as he possibly can. So stay tuned. There is more to come. I'm really excited about this. I've been chatting with him a little bit about it. He's got the samurai, he's got the onis, he's got other things he wants to do, multiple scales of figures that he wants to do, and so on and so forth. But I don't want to spend 10 minutes on this because I feel like it deserves more time. And I think when we get there, we'll do a much more in-depth look at that. But in the meantime,
then I'll just say sorry if I implied that we get a chance to talk more about it. Also, Jason isn't here in the last stream, but yeah, I mean, we do want to give folks a sense that there's plenty to come from Spiro beyond Animal Warriors in the Kingdom, and we're going to hear a lot more in this next year. Sorry, we can't tell you a ton more, but I think we can say that Bushido is a thing, as people know, and that's not the only thing. And that he's even shared last Wednesday that there's some licenses. So Bushido's an original IP. There is a licensed line that we'll be hearing a lot more about in the next couple months. And then so Spiro Toys is not just Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. They will be handling quite a bit in the next couple of years. So sorry, I can't give you more.
Yeah, and I mean, like, even behind the scenes, like, stuff that it's funny because there's like different layers. I know more than I don't know as much as Jason, but I know more than Brick, and it's like there's other IPs too that Brick doesn't know about, that we're talking about, like, going after and sort of reaching out to some people and sort of seeing. So it doesn't end at Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, and so it's exciting times for Spiro, and stay tuned. I wanted to talk more about this, but we're a little bit strapped for time. So allow me to show you this.
Yeah.
So we showed that there was an alternate head for Brutox. This is the updated alternate head. So this is now sort of the sort of corrected coloration. So he's going to have white horns. This is the Brutox head. So Lord Oxidus is the head with the sort of dreadlocky hair. This is Brutox. Different color eyes, different color horns, slightly different shading to the fur and stuff like that. So we just wanted to get this out there. The alternate head, before it got its color revision, is out there. But we just wanted to make sure that everybody got to see what it's really going to look like, you know, as far as what's going to be coming with the figure. So on that note, I'll give you just enough time to have your restroom break and and get a snack or what have you, because Brick, you're going on in 10 minutes.
I am sort of. We are. Myself and Carlos from the Badass Reviews are gonna go over the Brick Something news and talk about the Needless Ephemeral we saw, and then after that, I'll have a little bit of a break, and then I will be on GDL like you last weekend. I'll be there today, as well as I think somebody from Super 7, and then some folks from toy line that I know you're aware of and you got to play with at this show that you've been talking about, Brutal Realm. Because their Kickstarter launches on Tuesday. So that's going to be another thing that's in play. I'll talk more about it in 10 minutes, and then you can hear even more about that over on GDL. So just want to put that on people's radar.
Cool. Exciting times, man. There's so much
overwhelming, exciting. Like we got derailed. I'm sorry because of Cyberzoic, and I know we love that. And then it's like, there's this and Delta 17, and we didn't even get to talk about RoboSkull. Like I know. And
yeah.
When you and I first started talking, most of these things didn't exist.
Yeah, or they
That's
were like,
crazy.
An image on somebody's Instagram, or like there was a Facebook post about like, hey, we're thinking about doing this cool thing. And now, we have physical, embodiments of all these ideas, and it's just really, really cool. And then beyond that, we've just sort of weaseled our way in. We're sort of like directly in communication with a lot of these people, which is kind of wild too. It was certainly never my intention to be employed by a toy company, but here I am. Anyway, it's a blast.
Actual shill.
Yeah, exactly. Within the definition, I think. Yeah, absolutely. Anyways, it's been a blast. Thanks, Brick. See you very, very soon. Till the next time, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye, folks.
Do I have them on? Oh, yeah. Bye.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that.
Oh, I forgot about this, too. The sad music. All right, there we go.
Whoever told you it's sad, I don't know. It's not that sad.
I don't find it sad either. I just think it's funny that somebody said that once.